Cursed by the gold gods in Bethany, we are 4 souls destined to review the 1001 movies,
albums,
foods, songs,
and TV shows you must consume before you die. Until then, we are the Immortals. And this is episode 146.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything special about 146.
No, not
146, yeah.
I really wish that when we were
It's
still
a bus near us.
under the number...
It is.
That's true, actually. Actually, yeah, this is the bus I take home every day.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, well, now people know a lot about where I live, but that's cool.
Route 146.
You
Nice.
are really concerned about our listeners figuring out where you live. And it's just interesting because it comes up almost every podcast.
This is fair.
You know what? I'm going to edit all this shit out. I don't want them to find this.
I wish that I had been more attuned to the numbers before we passed the point where we were out of elements, because I could have brought up what the element on the periodic table was for everything up to 118.
Are we out? Yeah, I guess
But
we
we're
are
way
aren't
out
we?
now.
So we should start over?
Yeah.
How does that regret taste?
You know, tastes like copper filling my mouth, like sucking on a penny.
Wow.
Is that
That's
a
our-
reference or just like the first thing you thought of?
Just the first thing I thought of, honey.
It's
Okay.
our new replacement for the food segment.
Well, and I wanted it to be
Just
What
like...
Sarah
do different
eating
emotions
points.
taste like?
What does this
copper is
abstract
an
concept
element.
taste like?
And so I wanted it to be a pure element.
That's true.
Also, I think that a copper taste in your mouth is... Oh, no, that's what a copper taste is, again. A copper taste is a sign that you have an adrenaline and/or panic attack. So this all makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it?
I was thinking you were going to say, like, I feel like in novels, people always describe the taste of dried blood as being like copper. Like,
Yeah, that's
oh,
true.
like,
Even though it's supposed to be iron.
Iron.
but what does iron taste like?
Copper.
I think it probably is like
I have no
See,
idea.
shut the fuck up. Stupid. You're stupid.
Iron's its own element. It's a very important element.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point
well,
is that this is a movie review podcast.
Not just a movie review podcast.
In fact, no, it's actually we review the movies, albums, songs, and TV shows one must consume before they die. Every week we review one of the random numbers from those books that print out these lists. And,
Okay, wait.
what's
I
up?
just realized we got rid of food.
Yeah.
And so I would like to revisit the verb consume. We had settled on the idea of consume
Okay.
as what you do to different types of media.
Okay.
Because it was difficult to find a waypoint
Sure.
of a word between children's books and food and also movies and albums. I feel like
Well, I mean,
we
you
can
definitely
find
had one you thought of before jumping into this. You didn't definitely...
experience.
Experience?
Experience.
Experience also worked for those others.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, consume was weird then, and it's weirder now that we're not eating anything. Consume is what, I don't know, Cthulhu does to you when he consumes the world. Like, it's not a word that I associate with anything positive, and I would like to voice my disagreement with its use as a verb in this podcast.
So you rather experience the taste of sucking on a penny?
Yeah.
Okay.
I truly am usually up for some, like, real masturbatory semantic sessions.
This is too much?
Don't
This
don't
is too
do
much
this
to
to
me.
JC, like, this is like, I
We have
need
found
you.
their limit.
I need you.
I was always a fan.
Ooh.
That
Thank you for
proves
calling
that
me
it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of cannibalism.
Yeah, like, can we? All right, I just table it, but I may bring it up in the future.
I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I am masturbatory semantics.
Yes, that is officially your name now. MS for short.
And I'm Pedro.
Yeah. This week, on episode 146, we are reviewing the 33rd entries in all those lists. And what did we all consume this week?
No,
Mm-hmm.
JC, what movie did we consume this week?
we didn't consume any movie because you don't consume movies. I'll
Can
stop.
I-
I'll move on.
I didn't really consume anything this week because I have been traveling. But can I tell you about the new thing that I want to consume?
Yeah, after you list what movie we're going to review this week.
Oh, I thought you said, oh. I'm sorry. Hold on. We watched The General.
I listened to a wonderful album called Jazz Samba by Stan Getz and Charlie Byrd.
I listened to Good Rockin' Tonight by Rory Brown. Ate it up.
And I consumed the British soap opera Emergency Ward 10. But anyway, JC, now back to, MS. Whoever you are today, What are you intending to consume in the future?
Okay, so I made the decision that I'm gonna reread all of the Animorphs books.
No, wait, this is the correct decision.
Yes. So I had a friend come visit me last week or 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about how fucking intense the Animorphs books are.
Yeah.
Like the really, like truly wild, like how radical they are. And I was like, I need to reread these again. So I found an illegal download. Now I have every Animorphs book on my Kindle. And this bitch is going to read some Animorphs. And I'm pretty psyched about it.
I know you don't live in Illinois. I can't really give you legal advice, but don't admit to illegal acts on public media.
No.
I'm sorry.
K.A. Applegate put it out online. You probably accidentally did a legal download.
Oh, because she was really pissed at something about a publisher's deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she just put them all. You probably got the legal download of them.
That's so funny.
It was definitely on Reddit, so I definitely don't know.
I think that's the real one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, are they all legal if you're not like making money off of it and they've put it out there?
Because the laws are stupid. The laws are stupid. I'm not saying that these are just laws, but it is a felony. It's a federal felony, just so everybody knows.
Like $250,000.
Should I redo that so I don't get feloned?
No, I'm gonna look this up.
No, JC, you're fine.
Boom, feloned.
Boom. I'm in jail now. Cool. But anyway, there are almost over 50 of them, but now I have them all, and I'm gonna read them and maybe monetize this journey.
Do you want to hear my sad Animorph story?
That's probably illegal.
Don't monetize them.
No, yeah, you can.
No.
You're right. I won't monetize.
Yeah,
this.
definitely take legal advice from Austin, the not lawyer.
Wait,
I believe in Sarah.
Oh my god.
Like if they made a podcast about them reviewing every Animorphs book and had a sponsor,
yes,
that's monetizing off them reading Animorphs.
And they would probably be fine. But the lines are, I mean, if it's pure commentary, they're fine. That's for sure. If it is review, they are fine. What they cannot do is they just gotta watch out for quotes.
Animorphsforum.com has the download links of every single one of them.
So funny.
She is like, the author is very intense. Like every once in a while she takes to Twitter and is like, fucking vote because people die in war. And if you were pissed about the end of the Animorphs books, you should know that young people die every day for things that, like, literally, like, she is wild.
I think Animorphs is great. I read them.
I read all of them, and then I read her two other series. One was like a Norse mythology one going on.
Yeah, I think I read like the first one of that.
But one was like a space shit, and that like fucked me up because like it was like everyone.
I'm sorry,
like,
a space shit or a space ship?
I actually said shit.
I think
you did. You said space shit.
No, I meant to say shit.
Okay, explain.
Because it was this crazy. It was like it wasn't a great series, but one part like really like fucked me up because like they were all like going off to like different planet because Earth was all fucked up, and they all like were like chronologically frozen. Except one guy's thing didn't work, so
dark,
he was
man.
awake for 2,000 years, and like
that's hella dark.
Like his brain was still on, but his like body was for 2,000 years.
I'm gonna talk about Animorphs.
Started watching The Crown.
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
Oh my
yeah.
god, it's so good, Paige.
It's so good.
It is really good.
Are you still at season 1?
Sort of. Darren's actually the one that's mostly watching it. It's her thing to do while I'm not paying attention or gone. So she's probably watching it right now.
It's great. I'm in the middle of season 2.
Season 2
fantastic.
is the best season of the two.
It makes me excited to
I
keep
will
watching.
say, The Crown, I watched a couple episodes, maybe even a full season we watched together.
Oh, absolutely not.
But, like, I watched a bunch. I watched, like, 4 or 5. It is officially too British for me.
You watched one and then said, no, I'm good.
No. I watched a bunch, because I remember watching it on Netflix when you weren't there. I started one with you, and then I was like, gave it another couple tries. And yeah, no, it is too British for me.
It is very
much like, I doubt Abbey is also too British for me. So, like, I have a limit in my British aristocracy stories. Like, I need a twist. Like, I need.
You know what it is though? Hans Zimmer score.
Yeah, no. Like,
it's epic as fuck sometimes.
That's why
no,
I
I get
it.
that,
Yeah.
but fundamentally, like, I mean, so Gosford Park is, like, one of the few, like...
Author of Downton Abbey.
Yes, but Gosford Park is, like, a crazy farce of a, like, murder caper, and is really, really fun.
Robert Altman.
And, yeah, Gosford Park is like, it's one of those movies that, like, has a ton of famous people in it, and a very famous director. It's no one's best work, but it is solid. But yeah, it's got that little twist that I feel like The Crown is very earnest in being what it is, and it is too British for me.
I love it. I found like it's weirdly thrilling, not in a way of like Downton. Oh, we lost the spoon we
It's
made.
not weirdly thrilling. It's straight up thrilling.
Yeah, but like it's so like it's so brilliant and it's quiet thing. It's like there's so much at stake with relationships and obviously with like the greater like state of Europe. I think John Lithgow's incredible.
Yeah, my God.
The second season is really like this deep dive into Elizabeth and Philip's relationship, and it's just really like incredible. Like the end of that season the last scene of that season is so satisfying that I think I literally frat snapped when it was done. Like I just screamed. It was amazing.
Follow-up question. What's that?
A frat snap? You know the thing when you like shake your hand and it makes that snapping sound, but you're not snapping your fingers?
So you're alone watching The Crown just doing that.
Like
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like, yeah, boy. Like,
Come out McQueen.
it is so good. Claire Foy is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Smith is fine, but like,
I think
together they're so good.
he's great because he just like is not trying to be anything other than shitty. Like he's like I think Matt Smith knows that Philip is not the lead of this show, and he plays it as someone who's mad he's not the lead of the show. If
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
he's mad that he's not the lead of the Britain show.
Yeah.
Like, it's so meta.
And next season, our Queen Olivia Colman will be the queen.
Our Queen Olivia Colman.
Change her out?
Every 2 seasons they're going to, because they're going forward in time, they're not going to have them be in like old makeup.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, Olivia Colman
And Tobias Menzies, right?
Oh yeah, who's Blackjack Randall in Outlander, the guy who didn't die at the Red Wedding. Forget who it is.
He's also Frank in Outlander.
Yeah,
But no one remembers Frank.
Menzies has a nose that you could literally sharpen an axe on.
Literally.
Yeah, and then he's Voldemort. All right, now let's get into the show. What movie are we reviewing this week, JC?
We're watching The General. Beautiful. So The General is the first silent movie I've ever watched.
Wow, really?
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a 1926 movie, directed by and starring Buster Keaton, the man who would go on to inspire such star. He didn't direct it?
Mm-mm. Not this one.
But it says on Wikipedia he did.
Bastards. Did you change that earlier today?
Just to trick us.
It's directed by Clyde Bruckman and Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what it says. So
Co-direct.
that is correct. Like,
I
he
apologize.
directed.
Yeah, he definitely coded it. I just think about the other dude because like I read stuff about him and he's sad.
Oh no, yeah, because I was reading about stuff and yeah, he definitely did co-direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So co-directed with his friend Clyde. Buster Keaton, the man who would go on to inspire Donald O'Connor and Johnny Knoxville
That makes
in their
sense.
careers. Yep. I read about that when I was looking up things for the podcast. The General is about a young Confederate train engineer.
You know, the
No.
villain of the piece.
He was just an engineer
Nope,
the South.
Nope.
He
Was
is
not a soldier.
Confederate engineer, Pedro. We are not fucking whitewashing.
He's the bad guy.
He's in the Confederate Army.
He's pretty bad. He goes out of his way to help people that he is not a part of their army.
Yep.
And he regrets
there.
that.
We're gonna get there. He is a train engineer on a train called the General. His beautiful locomotive. He's in love with a young woman named Annabelle.
He's also in love with the locomotive.
Mm-hmm.
Who's not a locomotive. While he is somewhere in Georgia, Fort Sumter is fired on, and he tries to enlist in the Confederate Army. But they're like, no, you're better as an engineer. But then Annabelle is like, fuck you. I only love men in uniform. That is an
Annabelle
actual
sucks.
title card.
Her uncle and brother straight up lied to her, saying that he didn't even try. He just kind
He
of
didn't even get in line.
Yeah, they're jerks. Because he got in line twice.
many times.
And lied about his name.
The time passes, and then Annabelle is kidnapped by some Union spies, and then young Johnny Gray, who is Buster Keaton, has to chase them via train and handcar and bicycle, and all these hijinks happen in his attempt to get her back, and also to warn his southern brethren about the Union Army. But yeah, so this is the first silent movie I've ever seen, like all the way through.
So you've never seen a Chaplin?
I've never seen a Chaplin.
Oh,
I've never seen anything.
You should
Sarah.
watch some Chaplins. They're pretty good.
I really, really liked this. Like, Buster Keaton is
Very
amazing.
funny.
Like, that's the stupidest sentence anybody's ever said on this podcast, but I was just, so compelled and, like, really just, like, drawn in the entire time. And I'm sure we'll talk about this more. But yeah, that was the general. How do people feel about it?
It was fun to rewatch this one because I've seen a lot of Buster Keaton movies, and some are very like, they're all funny, obviously, in different kind of ways. This one is straight up just an action comedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it follows the same kind of beats as you would do for like a Beverly Hills Cop. Like, there are these big action set pieces that, even though some came out in 1926, are insane, and I'm gasping at what the fuck's happening because it's real.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, like, you're just very aware. Every time I was watching a stunt, I was like, oh, it's 1925. All of this is very real. This is horrible. Like, how Buster Keaton, by the way, died, of old age / disease at age 70, which is
that's pretty impressive.
Bizarre. Can I share about Buster Keaton's history as a stunt performer? Because
yes.
this is my
it's so funny.
This is my favorite. I went like all the way down. I started on Wikipedia and I went like all the way down this rabbit hole.
Well, JC, also, you watched like a 10-minute thing about him, right?
I did.
Oh.
I did. It's just like it was queued on YouTube after the thing, and it was talking about like the way that he framed jokes in his movies, and about how like he was physically like committed, but also how like stunts that were like jokes or like that didn't work, and I don't know, all this stuff about like camera angles and things like that.
There was all sorts of cool stuff about when you said like when you had forgotten that he was the director. Like it was interesting because there were a bunch of quotes in the stuff I read about how other people like. At the time in slapstick, it was all about stealing people. Like, you always wanted to get the good gag, and all of the directors had quote unquote gag men, like the guys who wrote the jokes, and you would always be trying to poach each other's gag men. And there was a quote from somebody being like, "But we couldn't post Buster Keaton because he was his own gag man. Like, he made up his own stuff." But yeah, Buster Keaton started as a child in his parents' vaudeville act. As a 4-year-old, in the Keatons, in which the plot of the Keatons was his mom plays saxophone off in the corner. Small tiny Buster Keaton, disobeys his father and provokes a reaction. At which point his father picks him up and just throws him around the theater, including into the audience. There was a suitcase. They sewed a suitcase handle into his clothing in order to make this easier. Buster Keaton has always insisted, like, he was genuinely never harmed. It doesn't seem that, like, that he basically learned to trick fall when he was, like, a really, really young child.
The little boy who can't be damaged.
The little boy who can't be damaged was his nickname, which is longer than his name, but whatever. They were arrested for child abuse multiple times.
Convincing.
And like at various times he was like, they were like, this child should go to school, and he was like, no, I want to be thrown around by my dad and do trick falls. And basically, I just so deeply wish that video had existed for that as well as for this movie. That's my story about Buster Keaton.
It says here in the article also, I read that like he was having like so much fun and he would like start laughing and his dad would like pick him up to throw him, but then like
it would like ruin the
illusion. As many laughs from people, and so that's when he learned how to do like the great stone face.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's apocryphal or not, but it's a good story.
It's what he said about about how he got the stone face. He also like was a teller of tales. Although like the vaudeville act itself is like independently documented, he was very much a mythologizer of his own life. Like
Houdini gave me the nickname.
Yeah, like he
Buster.
said that Houdini gave him the nickname Buster, which is definitely bullshit. And like,
I mean, like I've heard this a number of times, so I assume it's true. But I mean, that's probably not. That like he broke his back 2 years ago before knowing it, like from a stunt.
Yeah.
Like because he just got hurt a lot because he does all stunts and.
I mean, he probably broke his back when he was like 6.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice.
And like the stunts for like because we saw Steamboat Bill Jr. many podcasts ago, and those were all like hurricane based stunts, which is like lots of wind and like Us the Famous where the house falls down and he's standing in the window.
I think I was more impressed by those stunts overall.
I think these stunts are insane. I think everything
all
with
of
like,
them are insane.
but like that one where he is trying to get the wooden things off the tracks as the train's behind him, and like it's insane because he's timing out perfectly. Where like he has one that's stuck, and he's like pulling and pulling. The train's getting closer. And he just like slams the other one down. It flies over. Then he goes back onto the train.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
All these things. I mean, it is so delightful and.
That's a real train.
It's a real train.
Coming at
yeah.
him.
No, all of these things, this is like, usually as a lawyer, when I watch stunts on television, I'm very aware of tort liability and workers' compensation, things like that, which basically mean that like there's only so much that the thing that I am watching can be true. Because like there's only so dangerous that a workplace can be in the modern era, which is good. Those were all policies passed post New Deal. They did not exist in 1925. In 1925, you could fucking employ a 6-year-old at your mill, and no one cared. There were no rules. Buster Keaton did all this shit, and it is amazing that he is alive. Was alive until he was 70.
That's parodied in Singing in the Rain. The way that the Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor characters got in Hollywood was because they're the ones stupid enough to do all the stunts.
Right.
So you'd see them in these like Western things where they just have the shit beat out of them in the stunts, and like. There are moments in this movie where Buster Keaton is like proving to the audience how real they are. Like whenever he does like the gag where he sits on the side of the train and kind of goes up and down, he like actively will like stand up against sit almost to prove like there's nothing hooking me in here.
Right. Like I don't know
we didn't
why
cut, and I'm going to sit as I go up and down, and it's crazy because like there's not a lot of train movies like this. Typically, you'll have like Orient Express. You're on the train. It's more of a thing of isolation. It's hard to do a train chase movie
because
it tracks. And yet, this movie is amazing in that regards. And yes, they have ways to kind of move things around, but there's a gag where he's like going back to get some more wood for the fire and looks back and the train that was in front of him is gone. He's just very confused, and it's really funny.
I honestly like the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, John McClane could never. Like, that's what I felt.
You take that back.
No.
It is amazing. No, I won't. Fuck John McClane. But like his ability to just like, he makes everything like, not only is it like, holy shit, like, that's like, he's just laying on the front of the train. Like, it's a fucking, like, it's nothing. He also makes it look as easy as like going to sleep. Like everything looks like he's doing it on a whim. Like it just looks like anybody could do it. In fact, like so I was watching it and I was just like, he looks like, I was like, it's like ballet, like sort of like cat-like quality. The speed at which he moves in comparison to everything else, he almost looks like he's like a couple of frames like ahead of everything else.
Right.
And
it's like
really
you're not because
wild.
They couldn't do that. I was thinking about that too. That like the athleticism that some of this takes, and the fact that he's able to do it and make it look like it isn't hard, is like its own kind of athleticism.
Yeah,
and I just like I think there's something about his facial expressions that are so like
good.
Modern.
Wait, I'm sorry. His one facial expression.
No, it's not just that.
I'm kidding. Yeah, you're right.
No, but like he's got a little eyebrow raise and a little like, and my favorite is like a slight widening of the eyes to make clear that the character is feeling panic. Just a little bit. Just a little.
Yeah, there's a couple great moments like that, especially like when Annabelle rejoins him. You know, like Annabelle is not a lot of a character, but when
no one's a character in this movie.
But like, there's a moment where she gets to be a little bit funny, where like they're teaming up to like try to get like wood in the fire, and I just enjoy that she just like starts sweeping.
Yeah,
like
because she's a woman.
Like anything else to do, then like that like breaks, and it's just they have charming rapport together, And
she gets to do some fun stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it isn't all just like she gets carried. Like, she does get literally thrown in a bag and carried around at one point. But like before that, she gets to do some like fun gag stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Which I
I was
appreciated.
genuinely bummed she did not get tied to the railroad tracks because.
Oh,
yeah. Well, her in the bag reminded me of Raiders.
that's true.
No, I
The basket scene.
totally thought you were going to say audition.
I thought of audition 100%.
I love that this is a reoccurring movie. I mean, this is not
Well, it's
when.
better than Jurassic World fucking Fallen Kingdom.
I will never
Well,
watch
we
that
just
movie.
referenced that one as well.
That is a great movie.
Nope.
It's not.
Nobody was in a goddamn bag in that movie.
It's not the week this was coming out, but last week when we recorded this, audition, midnight screening, music box. Should we go?
Oh.
No, I'm not going.
Oh.
You want to go on
I don't know.
your Valentine's weekend off?
Oh yeah, no, sorry.
Okay. But no, the best gag, one of the best gags for me is when, because Annabelle is like he's fucking up the track so they can't like, follow them. It's really cool because like he actually like, bends the steel and it's really good. But Annabelle's only supposed to go like a few feet forward, and you're watching as the train's like going away from behind him. He's like, yeah, this worked, and like goes back and realizes the train is like basically gone. Tries to chase after it, and because at this point the train is now curving down a hill, he just like jumps down the hill, but then she gets it to work and goes reverse and has to climb back up the hill. It is so brilliant and so physical because like Buster Keaton, you know, it's unfair to always compare Chaplin to him and him to Chaplin, but because Chaplin always plays this like Looney Tune cartoon character and Buster Keaton always plays it like a person out of his depth, there's something kind of even crazier of him trying to quickly climb up the side of a hill to do it.
Who's the other, like, so there's Keaton and Chaplin, and then there's like the third.
There's Harold Lloyd, who I don't like as much, but he did have the movie Safety Last, which is him on the clock.
With this like little special that I watched after it, like it said something, it was quoting someone, and I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ebert. But it was something like Chaplin like made us laugh more, and like this other dude made us feel more, but like Buster Keaton had the most courage. And I feel like you can really see that, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking throw myself off a waterfall and catch a woman with this rope tied around my waist, and we're gonna do it in one shot, and if we can't do it, then we're gonna do something else.
Or
Also,
die.
Or that he'll die.
Or die.
I mean,
like
I genuinely expected to go look up, like, in the movie, I was like, how long did Buster Keaton live, though? And, like, genuinely expected that he died at, like, 32 or something.
Am I right in that, is this last film a fun thing happened on the way to the forum?
Oh, weird.
It's an imperfect movie of what I think is a really fun musical, but, like, the guy who's, like, the old man, like, running to find his son, who's, like, silently running. It's just Buster Keaton as an old man, still really doing stone face and, like, not speaking the whole movie, but just, like, sprinting.
You are correct. 1966. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
And
His name is Erroneous, which is very funny.
Yeah. And we saw him in a cameo as himself in the very first movie in this podcast, Sunset Boulevard. Oh. Because that character's a silent film star, so she at one point plays poker with a bunch of other people, including Buster Keaton.
Oh, he's got a Mad World cameo as well.
Sure.
Which is
okay, I have the actual Ebert quote,
Let's
which is, the greatest of the silent clowns is Buster Keaton, not only because of what he did, but because of how he did it. Harold Lloyd made us laugh as much. Charlie Chaplin moved us more deeply, but no one had more courage than Buster.
I like that a lot, because I've always like treated like Chaplin and Keaton as the Beatles or Rolling Stone. Like,
Which was which?
I would say Keaton for Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what your opinions on the Rolling Stones are, so.
I like them both, but I like the Beatles a little bit more.
Okay.
Beatles are, they're in, like, so many, like, comedy clubs just have, like, a Chaplin, like, silhouette behind them. Like, they're there as often as the Beatles are everywhere. But they are, like, equally as adored fan base and critically, I feel
like Chaplin is, like, the silent film predecessor to modern cinema. Like, there's so much that he's doing that, like, plot-wise and structure-wise that is like the seeds of what a modern movie would look like. And Buster Keaton is doing something very different, which is to say, like, they figured out how to do, like, the concept of film, which apparently Buster Keaton's father was, like, not into. By the way, like, his father thought it was super cheap. Like, basically that, like, live theater was always going to be better and that this was a fad. Buster Keaton, like, borrowed someone's camera, took it all the way apart, and came back the next day, probably apocryphally, and was like, let's make a movie. And like,
so Buster Keaton was the first hipster.
Yeah, exactly. He liked it before it was cool. And like,
fuck you, Dad.
He's doing something different, which is realizing that film, like, for the first time, is capturing people in motion, which has never, ever, ever been done before. Like, imagine a world where, like, no one has ever seen a stunt, right? Because you had to be there to see it. And it was, you know, there'd be legends about, like, I mean, the Olympics had happened at that point, but, like, you know, there'd be legends about having been there to see some amazing feat of strength. And Buster Keaton's like, no, like, I'm gonna do this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And put it on film. And that's gonna be the whole film. Like, let me be clear, like, this movie, like, the plot is not...
No, honestly, it's
fine.
No, it's weirdly great. It's an action comedy. It's a crazy, well-paced 80-minute movie that is as well-paced as any action comedy today. The beginning's a little bit long with exposition, as every action comedy is.
Sure.
And then once it starts, it keeps going and keeps reinventing itself. And
I guess we're like...
It's so, like, ahead of its time,
we're like,
action and adventure-wise.
I guess, like, where City Lights or Modern Times is, like, the silent era predecessor to, like, the great dramedies or the great dramas.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like, the predecessor to, like, I don't know, like, Die Hard. You know, like
yeah.
Like, which
but
is...
Die Hard's amazing.
John McClane would never.
Like, it's great. Or Speed. Like, it's really Speed.
Yeah, this
just
is Speed.
It's just Speed.
This is Speed. And that's a great category.
Keanu Reeves could never.
It is. But I think, like, it is a category that gets at something very specific about film that we undervalue now.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
well, it
like,
kind of shows the power of this editing. Because, I mean, there are some fun adventure films this time, like The Thief of Baghdad, which is super charming, but doesn't have, like... There's barely a wasted minute in this movie. It just goes
it's
so
constantly
quickly.
moving.
And that's fun. That's why I like this more than Steamboat Bill Jr., because Steamboat Bill Jr., once the hurricane shit starts, it's insane. But I was not as much into, like, the 40 minutes before that.
It's true. It takes a long time to... I think, like, just, like, personally, I was more impressed with the Steamboat Bill Jr. stunts. But, I mean, this is great, too.
And it's funny because, like, both Chaplin and Keaton, kind of going back to, like, a Beatles, Rolling Stone, like, they're both doing such amazing things. Like, we saw, because we've done 2 Chaplins in this podcast, the Gold Rush and City Lights. And, you know, Gold Rush, you have something that can never be in theater, because you have, like, them in that house during a snowstorm, and the guy keeps imagining Charlie Chaplin as, like, what is it, a walking piece of meat? No, it's a chicken.
Walking chicken.
You know, he also
So
as a
good.
chicken, so you can actually have a crossfade where he sees a giant chicken and then tries to murder him.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that on a stage. I mean, you can get people behind a set or walk around, but to actually have him fade into that so unique. And Keaton was this one and Bill Jr. are stunt based, but he did things like Sherlock Jr., which is on the list, which has him go into a movie screen and become a Sherlock Holmes figure.
Which is awesome.
Or a really crazy short film, I forget what it was called, which it's some sort of like carnival setting where he goes in and he sees that he is every member of the audience and the performers. So you have these shots of, like, dozens of Buster Keatons on film. And that's crazy to do in the 20s. So it's so cool to see them fuck with a new form and to have it hold up as well as it does. General's awesome. And this is, like, people, like, have, like, a short list of, like, what silent film do you show, like, someone first?
And this is
The
a
Generals
very solid
is sometimes
choice.
like the first choice people do.
I think City Lights is also like depending on your person.
Yeah.
City Lights is the other.
Because you
thing.
can't do Metropolis because 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I mean Metropolis is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think Metropolis is of the silent films we've watched. Metropolis is definitely by far the standout.
At Birth of a Nation?
No, I mean, no.
That's so weird.
No.
That was the first one.
That's the first
Another
one we
one
did.
that was big on how great the Confederacy was.
Yeah, that is true. I don't really understand why he chose that, but that was really my biggest issue with this movie. I was like,
That's weird.
This part of Keaton running around with this big Confederate flag really doesn't age well.
It doesn't age well. I kept yelling at Austin and explaining that we can't forget that he's the bad guy. Like, he's the villain of the piece.
Because there was a point when, like, I was trying to think, like, well, he's only wanting to go in the army because of her. But then after a while, like, no, he's just stopping the Union. And at the end, he's super proud to be a Confederate soldier. I'm like, this is still, like, post-Civil War. Like,
yeah, like, we are
great.
And, like, also, like, substantially after Birth of a Nation, too. Like, a couple years.
10 years.
10 years is a lot of time. Birth of a Nation is during World War I, right?
I wonder if he did it for storytelling. Because if he were a Union kid, if he were like in the North or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a Union kid?
Someone
Sorry, damn Yankee.
A damn Yankee.
Yeah, a damn Yankee. It's a little bit more awkward story-wise to have an invasive force. Because technically the Union was invading the South, sort of.
What?
In a way.
No.
Okay,
No.
like, we're gonna walk this all back.
Go ahead, Pedro.
What? No, because, like, there was an army marching towards him, and that makes more sense when you think about someone being in the South and the Union coming versus
the war
you
didn't
hanging
just
out
go
in Chicago.
down.
No, but there's
like,
they
marched on each other.
Yeah, once Sumter happens, there's a lot of northward marching.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, not to say that you're wrong, but, like, in terms of, like, they're definitely... It's interesting to me that, like, Confederate nostalgia seems to be, like, a universal... Like, it doesn't ever die. Like, we're still doing it.
Well, the South will rise again.
But, like, you know, like, we're doing it in 1915 with Birth of a Nation, and then we're doing it again in 1925 with... Is it 1925 or 27?
26 or 7.
Somewhere in there.
You know, we're doing it after World War I with... And then, I mean, what happens, right, is... Not to get too, like, dark, but then we do World War II and start to have serious thoughts as, you know...
Humans?
Like humans. Like a whole... humans about the concept of like racial racial inequality and racism as, you know, a destructive force. And it's only then that like at the time this is made, like it's a different kind. It's definitely doing a little bit more of the like, oh yeah, they're like, he's a funny rascal people. They lost, but they're funny rascally people. It's always weird for me to think about like a world before World War II, like a world before that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think too, though. I mean, I think to that point, like, to be fair, I think that's when like art that was made, or like, that's when white people started to notice. I think that people who lived in this country have always like, have been creating like, not necessarily like cinema, but like have been writing about, or like all of that stuff.
Oh, for sure. No.
And I do not think that the story of this, if you change the color of their uniforms and you change their goddamn flag, it's literally the same story. It's a silent film with 20 cards in it. Like, I just don't think that it's different if he's for a different side.
Fair. It's a really weird choice as part of the movie.
I do not like that. However, can I just say, I do like Buster Keaton's weirdly androgynous face.
He does
not
have
weirdly,
he wears
like,
a lot of makeup.
His little, so much makeup, and like his curls, like the whole time I was like, hair. Buster, this gender non-conforming look you have going for you, Buster. Buster.
Did you yell a lot at the screen?
At the silent film?
Buster, what kind of eyeliner are you wearing? Yeah, I did really like that. I was like, you don't look like, you know, like, I mean, I don't think the point of it is like, he's like this rubber man who can't be killed. But I just like that he was not, I don't know, it's just really interesting to me. I was texting Austin about this, about how, like, because now you've made me watch a bunch of movies from different times, the way that, like, the way men are in movies, or like the way masculinity is presented in movies is just, and like who holds the central frame is just really interesting.
It's true.
And like if you were talking about like some of the first movie stars, like it would not, like the first person I think of would not be this person, or even Charlie Chaplin, although I think he's more
like the first like real Hollywood stars, like Clark Gable.
Yeah.
And that's what became a literal Hollywood standard.
It's interesting just because in the silent era with these guys, you've got these guys who are major leading men, but it's true their version of masculinity is very, very different.
I'm sure someone's going to correct me. Douglas Fairbanks, Errol Flynn, these people are also, but to me, Clark Gable became an A+ superstar.
For sure.
He alone could cause a film to be used.
And then you have someone like Gene Kelly, who is like a master of dance, who is I look like a tap dancing truck driver. It's just really
great and very,
right?
very attractive.
That is a paraphrased quote, but he did say that. It's just really interesting the way that has changed, and I don't know. I was like, Buster, you do that eyeliner. I wonder if Buster did his own eyeliner.
I hope so.
It's just what I wonder.
He does all his own stunts.
So he probably applies his own makeup.
Yeah.
The greatest stunt of all.
Any final thoughts on the movie? Any particular gags or moment you want to show?
Well, the train falling off the bridge, that super classic scene.
Fuck?
That was awesome.
That was insane.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a real train. It's falling off a bridge.
It didn't look like a miniature.
Yeah.
It was an actual train. That thing is a pressurized thing of steam and fire. It could have exploded.
I want to know what railroad let them do all of this.
They did this in Oregon. I used to live I just found this out in Cottage Grove, Oregon, which was it's off I-5.
Very cool.
We don't have context for I-5, but sure.
I know where I-5 is.
I thought she said 5-5. I'm like, is that what you call 55?
No, I-5. It's the main interstate through Washington, Oregon, and California. It's the corridor. If you look at a map of Washington and Oregon, all the cities are to the west because they're on the I-5 corridor, and then you have 7 hours of ruralness to the east.
Yep.
I had a weird theory watching this, which was that this is one of the few silent comedies I've noticed that kind of treats its world as silent. I mean, obviously they can all hear each other, but so many gags are built upon Buster Keaton sitting somewhere and not knowing a train's going on behind him, or an army's going on behind him. It's treating weird, its perspective the way the audience hears it as well. And it's
weird,
it's just a very specific way of doing it, which was fun because the characters in the audience are on the same page. It embraces its silent film as opposed to there's so many terrible silent films in this era that would have 100 title cards that have 40 words per card, long dialogue scenes. You go, we get it. You just want to be a talkie film, but wait 5 years. And the best ones are minimal title cards. And this pretty small amount of title cards, honestly.
The thing that I was watching after I watched the movie said that Buster Keaton only used a maximum of 56 title cards per movie, and the average was something like 240.
Yeah, it was, and they're pretty short too.
Yeah, and then the other thing was talked about how in the frame when you watch a Buster Keaton movie, it's the world is flat. The only things that exist are the things you can see, which is what is reminding me of when you say the world is silent too. Really the person who's watching is the ultimate person who is the only person who's really seeing things in the movie. Wild.
JC, what do you give it?
I give it a 4.6.
Hell yeah.
I probably would have rated it higher if it hadn't had the Confederacy in it.
Fair.
Which is, that applies to all films.
I mean, it's really true.
If it hadn't prominently featured the Confederate Rebellion, I would have rated it higher.
You would have been cooler with it? Yeah.
Anyone else?
4. I think it's good. I like Steamboat Bill Jr. a little bit better, and it's fun though.
Go 4.5.
I'll do a 4.4.
Nice.
I scored this higher than everyone.
Hell yeah!
I'm more of a Chaplin fan.
This is my second favorite Keaton until we watch. Sherlock Jr. It's not a full feature. It is on the list as one. It's 40 minutes of perfection. I love Sherlock Jr. Also,
I would watch more Keaton. This enchanted me. I was enchanted.
If you watch Steamboat Bill Jr., you can do Old Business Do Hinges.
Yes.
But you should probably watch before that.
Don't put me on blast like
The Adventures of Robin Hood.
Don't put me on blast
like this.
It is.
Why would you do this? I'm ashamed. Just nothing but shame.
Well, we look forward to shaming you next week as well. But first,
I'm not gonna watch it.
it's so charming.
I will one day.
But now it's time for the album segment. Sarah, what do we consume this week?
We didn't consume anything because you don't consume music. You listen to it, you monster. We listened to Jazz Samba by Stan Getz and Charlie Boyd. So, Jazz Samba was released in 1962, and it's sort of the beginning of what's called the bossa nova craze, the bossa nova craze in America. It describes in its title exactly what it is. It is jazz people playing music that has a samba beat. I enjoyed this album very, very much. It was lovely. It sounded like elevator music, but also elevator music that I would like totally groove to. Like
you want to be going to a high rise.
Yeah, and then like I'm gonna be the person in the back corner of the elevator being like, dance a little bit. Like that's gonna be me. It won the Grammy for Best Jazz Performance in 1963. I really enjoyed this. Other thoughts?
Who all heard this one?
Me.
Not I.
I really liked it as well. I mean, jazz, more than any kind of music, is a bit of an enigma to me. And yet, like, I really enjoyed this as, like, it felt like I was holding my hand through this one. Like,
yeah, it's very accessible.
And they kind of, like, if I understand correctly, they kind of took turns with different kind of tracks and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so you really you get a rhythm of kind of a call and response to what they're doing between the different instruments. And partly because it was at the speed it was at, I was able to focus more on all of the different parts.
Makes sense.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, it was really kind of impressive. Flew by.
Yeah,
really, really enjoyable.
It is genuinely good background music, which I do not in any way mean as an insult. It is like fun to listen to. It is.
It also made me kind of stop and listen to it. Well, like, it was background music for me, and like, this is good
like,
stuff.
It's like background music that you like pause in the middle of your work, and you're like, no, I'm gonna groove to this. This is good. Like, I'm here for this.
Yeah,
it's very good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say because I don't know anything about jazz and I don't know anything about samba. I know enough about samba to know what a samba beat is and that they use it. But, like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like,
well, I know a lot about Charlie Byrd because in the movie Whiplash, they talk about him a lot.
Oh, is that who that guy is?
Yeah.
Threw a symbol, got a symbol.
Oh my god!
Got a symbol thrown at his head.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And the whole question is like, would he be in Charlie Byrd without that happening?
No.
That's the thesis of Whiplash.
The thesis of Whiplash is, no, we must kill artists to make them good.
But then the ones that survive.
The theory of Whiplash is J.K. Simmons is fucking scary.
Very, very scary, man.
He was scary in Oz, and I thought that I was, like, immune to how scary he is. But no.
That movie's
No.
Well, he just wants those photos of Spider-Man.
That's all he wants. That's all he wants. Just give him damn photos of Spider-Man and he'll go away.
Yeah.
You're so stupid.
Also a perfect drum beat.
Yeah. I know.
That's all very true, JC.
That's my cutting quip.
Sometimes you just gotta say it like it is, you know?
Yeah. No, I don't know if this. I really enjoyed it. It was, it's just very technically impressive in a way that sounds usually very clinical, but it was a way to kind of highlight the talent of the artist without ever taking away from just the enjoyment to listen to it.
Yeah, it's really fun to listen to. Like, I genuinely mean that about, like, grooving in the back of the elevator. Like, it's smooth jazz, but it's cool. It's got, like, a twist to it that you're like, I would like to dance to this now.
Yeah.
What does Charlie Byrd play?
Drum?
I don't actually know.
What did he play?
Let's find out. No, he's a guitarist.
Okay.
I think Stan Getz and I think they're both guitarists. No, Stan Getz is a saxophonist. Charlie Getz is
jazz guitarist. Yeah, you're right.
Stan Getz is the saxophonist. Charlie Byrd is the guitarist on the album. And Stan Getz is eventually going to go on and be involved in Girlfriend from Ipanema, which is like the big bossa nova hit from Brazil.
Girl from Ipanema.
And this is I totally see the the connection here. I mean, this has no lyrics, but it's very similar in its appeal.
Is the original one in Portuguese and English? I always thought it was just a Brazilian song, but I guess not.
Let's see.
Because there's always that, it always breaks into English halfway through.
Yeah. Let's see. It won a Grammy Record of the Year in 1965. There are both Portuguese and English lyrics.
Okay. Stop all the emails and ats. Whiplash is about Charlie Parker, not Charlie Byrd.
Wow, good job.
God damn it.
I was like looking around, this guy seems like a very nice life. Oh nope, I totally fucked this up completely. Yeah, just gonna stop all the tweets at us right now. Yep, Whiplash is all about the story of Charlie Parker having a symbol thrown at him.
Non-Charlie Byrd, who probably had a perfectly nice life.
Yeah.
I was like, jazz guitar just doesn't seem that intense.
I was thinking, like, why would you throw a symbol at that guy?
Guitars.
Maybe it was the drummer being an asshole and throwing whatever was closest at him. So yeah, different. Doesn't matter. This guy is still very good at jazz.
Yes, the 2014 film Whiplash repeatedly refers to the 1937 incident at the Reno Cafe, changing the aim point of the symbols to his head and pointing it to as proof that genius is not born but made by relentless practice and pitiless peers.
Really scary.
I think we should rename this podcast Pitiless Peers. What do we think?
Might as well at this point.
I'm gonna 3.8. It was great, but not like my favorite thing, but it was good. I liked it.
4.2.
Cool.
Really good. That was Jazz Samba by Stan Getz and Charlie Byrd, not Charlie Parker. Now it's time for the song segment. Pedro, what else we consumed this week?
We consumed Good Rockin' Tonight by Roy Brown.
Well, I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight. Well, I'm gonna hold my baby tight as I can. Tonight she'll know I'm a mighty, mighty man. I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight. Oh, yes, I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight.
Good Rockin' Tonight is a song written and first performed by Roy Brown in 1947. He wanted to have other people do it, but they would hear him sing it and be like, nah, you're better. And, yeah.
You have to keep going.
Oh, no.
It's your segment.
Oh, gosh. It's... Okay, this thing calls it jump blues, which I guess would be precursor to rock and roll. The song is very much part of the birth of rock and roll. It's been covered by everybody. Of course, the Wikipedia article has a segment by Elvis, but not, any of the other people that covered it.
Well, I saw Elvis did it, and it was funny because there's a point in the song, because I know, Elvis is a brilliant artist in his own right, but there's so many jokes about how, Elvis stole rock and roll from black people. There is a moment in this song where he does, an Elvisism before Elvis. He does a little, yeah. Very small one. I go, this is before Elvis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Austin, you literally took the words from my brain. That is exactly what I kept thinking when I listened to this, because I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Wow, white people stole everything from black people. Literally.
Fucking Marty McFly, who's canonically a new god in our podcast. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great song, but it doesn't stick with me any more
I also
than
feel like it doesn't stick with me, yeah.
a lot of this early rock, because it's got that feeling where you can't listen to it the same way you listen to more modern music, because it's performance. It's supposed to be, listened to either at a show, where someone is literally performing the stuff in front of you, or in close enough proximity that you are part of a bigger thing, or it's on the radio, in which case you're probably not alone. It's in your house with your family or wherever, at your workplace. It's not music that's made for a disc to go in your Walkman to stay on your headphones for a month, kind of thing. So it's very much listening to it this way, I think, takes it out of its element, and then it just kind of makes it seem just like any other because it's got all of the classic beats and chords and progressions as all that early rock, blues, jazz, whatever you want, which is great. But it's not. I just can't listen to it the same way I listen to everything else.
Sure.
And doing so, and like trying to critique it the same way, doesn't really make sense to me, and doesn't seem fair.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if this were playing at a bar or something that we're watching,
Be happy to,
time of my life. It'd be super awesome.
I feel like, Pedro, I think that's really important. Like, it's sort of like being like, which tastes better, sugar or cake? Like, you can't have cake without sugar, but they're different. Like, this is like the bedrock that we like built stuff on in terms of like what music sounds like now. Yeah.
Was one that I thought was better on repeat listens. Because like the first time, I'm like, this is nothing. Yeah, this is the sugar towards rock and roll. But on like the chorus worked a lot better for me on repeat listens, and I found myself tapping my toes later and listened to it. Not because that he's not a good singer, and it's not that like it's a bad song. It just wasn't very damn a good hook to it. But no, like it is. You get more into the once you like know what the chorus is, and you're anticipating like that hook, like you would have at a concert where you're looking forward to this song. It does play better, but as a first experience, I think it is very just okay.
I mean, the song is literally about a guy who's talking about, hey, there's gonna be some rock tonight, and we're gonna dance to it.
Yeah.
Like
they're gonna fuck tonight.
And
Good
they're
rock.
probably gonna do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's getting his fucking shoes. I mean, rocking shoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what?
If you read the lyrics, it's very you can take it either way. They're either gonna fuck tonight or go to a blues bar.
Hey, you can do both
Behind the bar.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Or both.
you sometimes have to do both.
Yeah.
I would say.
In order to enjoy a blues bar.
Yeah, I don't know. I really liked it. I think I liked it, and then like the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. Like I think that I agree. I think that it's really like meant to be played live, or like I wonder. I didn't do this, but like listening to this on Spotify versus like watching a performance of it on YouTube, like what would that difference would have made to me? But I don't know. I really liked it. I liked it better than some other shit I've heard, I feel like. So.
That's kind of how this podcast works. It's like you get to point in the show like we're this many episodes in. This is better than most of the shit we listen to.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think especially when we're thinking about like, is this in the canon? Like, of course, like it is. Like, yeah. You have to say in the canon like that. You can't just say canon. To be like in the canon.
Well, that's a
canon.
I guess a solid 4.
I thought this song was not that special. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
3.8. It's still quite good though. I like it.
I'm gonna say a 4 too. And like, when did I become Pedro? Like, what is happening?
You've been having
today?
a real good day.
At
I
any
have
point
like
in our
a
lives,
generous heart today.
any point in our lives, we have to ask ourselves, when did we become Pedro?
I mean, that's one of my great questions in life.
Yeah. Anyway, that is Good Rockin' Tonight by Roy Brown. Now it's time for the TV show segment, which is Emergency Ward 10.
Meow, meow, meow. It's an emergency sound.
That's good.
Emergency Ward 10 is a soap opera aired on ITV for a decade, from 57 to 67. Much like last week, where I watched... No, 2 weeks ago, where I watched 3 episodes of a soap opera and realized this is not enough to cover this. I saw 3 episodes of this 1,016 episode show, and you know what? Actually, no, I got this. This is because it was set in the UK, which means so many of the episodes are missing. It does have 3 DVD collections of assorted episodes throughout its run, but those DVDs wouldn't play on American players, so I did not get those. I just watched 3 of the 5 episodes, which are available on YouTube, and it's kind of dumb. You get the idea of, like, yes, medical shows are very easy to do on TV because it's inherent drama, but this was so boring. And it wasn't because I jumped into 3 different episodes from 3 different weeks of the show. It is just inherently not compelling in a way that, like, partly because its female characters are insanely dull. They're just always nurses that need to be, like, taught the most basic medical thing, or they're just waiting to get married.
Is it because they're women?
Yes.
Cool.
100%.
Yes.
It's not like, okay, are we holding up 50s TV to the standards of today? No, you just wrote really boring characters. It doesn't matter, like, what wave of feminism we're at. You decided to not have half of your cast be interesting. The other half is also really boring. It's across the board, super boring. This doctor's wearing a tie. He says this and walks away. And the fact that it's called Emergency Ward 10, you would think there's inherent, like, we have to quickly act. One of the episodes was a guy who says, like, I'm going to kill myself. Another patient goes, he's talking about killing himself. And our doctor goes, well, see, that's the problem. If someone wants to kill themselves, I'm going to talk to them about it. They see it as a challenge. So I'm going to ignore it. I'm like, this is the most boring show. Also, no.
That's literally not true.
Yeah, that's really bad. Talk to that guy. So even when the idea of, like, hey, here's a conflict you could address, the show's like, nah, I'm okay. Again, am I accurately judging a 1,000 episode show based on 3 episodes? Sure. Maybe I am. And I'm just going to stick with that because there's no way in the world I'm going to watch the rest of this show. Well, because one, I literally can't. But maybe one day I'll buy some super cheap DVDs on Amazon and watch 40 more episodes. But I don't want to. Instead, I'm just going to do...
Henges.
2.2.
All right.
Who cares?
Cool.
That's it. This is 146.
Yay.
We did it.
That's cool.
Hell yeah.
Good for us.
What's our next number?
Our next number is 457.
Cool.
Can I tell you something really sad?
So close.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. What?
I thought until 2 minutes ago our next movie was going to be Point Break.
Nope.
But it's Point Blank.
I kept thinking that too.
I
was
also
sad.
was like,
I was
why
like,
do I
I've never
recognize
seen
that?
Point Break, and it's directed by a female director. I'm so excited. And then I was like, let me
Point Break?
Wikipedia that.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had mixed them.
I think both may be on the list. Point Break is Keanu Reeves and...
Parachuting surfers.
in Roadhouse. Yeah. Parachuting.
Yeah.
Bank robber surfers.
Whoops, sorry.
Directed by Oscar Award winner Catherine Bigelow. The movie is fantastic. We're not reviewing that. We're reviewing another thriller, just from a different decade, Point Blank. So we'll be reviewing that as the film next week. What else are we going to do?
The album is Songs the Lord Taught Us by The Cramps, which honestly I know nothing about, and the title and the name of the band raises a lot more questions than it answers.
The song is Zombie by Bella Cutie and Africa 70.
And the TV show is Prime Suspect.
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited.
As you can tell from JC's enthusiasm, the segment's going to run a little bit. So we recommend you all go to Hulu and check out some Prime Suspect because it's awesome.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah. So look forward to that next week. Until then, you know what to do. You can go over to theartofmore.com. You can leave a comment on this episode or any other episode. Check out their podcasts that are there. You can check out Let's Take 5, which is a podcast where myself and Eric Martindale look at some of the greats of cinema. But right now we are actually wrapping up the show for our final stretch. We're looking at 10 fantastic films we had not covered in our previous 120 episodes. And this week's episode is a film we covered on this podcast, The Seventh Seal, the Ingmar Bergman classic of a knight playing chess with death. And check that out. Also, Ad Absurdum is back.
Woo-hoo.
New episode this month as Sarah and her co-host, two real-life lawyers, look at the legal implications of the 1993 comedy Dave, and they discuss whether or not it is legal for someone to pretend to be the president and pass laws. Is it?
Feels like it is.
You should probably listen to the episode. Have you listened to it?
I had
No.
it.
It's
that's
complicated.
It's complicated.
Oh
I believe
no.
there's an early part in the episode where you go, oh yeah, no, this is super illegal.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of... Yeah, I mean, but, like, what is law, really?
abstract concept.
Yeah,
of
so you guys are, 12 episodes in, and you just went, yeah, fuck it, what is law?
I just remember that one scene where he fixes the budget. That was like my favorite.
Lovely. It's lovely. It's a lovely little idealist
Charles
thing.
Grodin.
Yeah.
Cinema legend Charles Grodin.
I've never seen that.
It's weirdly charming. Check that out, and then listen to Ad Absurdum's take on that. Available where all podcasts are found. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at The Immortals Pod. Leave us a review on iTunes for all the shows. 5 stars, please. Thank you. Listening to Adam Lord for all the great music that he does. And we'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
Please don't sue me, K.A. Applegate.
And I'm Pedro.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name's Jake. I thought I knew who I was. A kid who liked to do normal things. Go to school, play video games, hang out with my friends. But the other night, my whole life changed when my friends and I were given the power to morph. Change shapes, become animals. So now Marco, Cassie, Tobias, my cousin Rachel and I can become dogs, cats, tigers, hawks, anything. Pretty cool, right? Not when you're the only thing between a bunch of mind-controlling alien yerks and the end of the world. You can't tell anybody because you never know who's a yerk and who's not. All I know is, now I'm an animal.